Brett Okamoto alongside Marc Raimondi. We're reporting from the arena in downtown Miami, UFC 287. We just watched the Thursday press conference. Everybody was there. Dana White at the podium. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, the champion. Jorge Masvidal got a big pop from the crowd, as expected. Gilbert Burns. Your thoughts, Mark, which, by the way, I'm either very underdressed or he is very overdressed. It's one of the two. We'll let you decide what it is.
I think I'm overdressed. I mean, we're in Miami. I should be wearing, like, board
It's a little
shorts,
warm outside
like
for the full three-piece.
Right?
But...
Like, I mean... But hey, listen, this is what we do, and
it looks good, man.
I'm a New York guy, like, at my heart. So, main event, Adesanya and Pereira. The first thing that was interesting, Brett, was that the crowd was a very pro-Adesanya crowd, which I wasn't sure about because there are quite a lot of Brazilians in South Florida. Yeah. But 100% pro-Adesanya. There were Izzy chants, and they were booing Pereira. And I thought, after he won the title, he developed a pretty big fan base, and he's getting more popular. But at least in Miami, that was not the case. And I think there's a very weird dynamic between those two guys. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Pereira is in a situation where he doesn't have to do a whole lot or say a whole lot because he's 3-0 against this guy. He's knocked him out twice. There's not much to say. And Izzy, it feels like he's almost trying to get himself up with some of the things that he's saying and some of the things that he's wearing and so on and so forth.
Yeah, see, I don't take it as like sometimes you do see some guys who are like trying to talk themselves into the fight. Izzy seems very genuine to me that he's like I'm just not shying away from what this fight is. And this fight is everything, man. This fight is my legacy. If I lose to this guy again, my entire legacy is basically rewritten that, hey, man, this guy was great, but he wasn't as great as the guy that was standing next. I mean, it completely changes Izzy's legacy. The fact that he was finished completely by him. It's not that he lost some controversial decision. He was finished in the last one. So I just and it's interesting when you talk about the crowd because I think what has happened is that Izzy has really turned into the pressure of this one, saying that acknowledging that there's a lot of pressure. And I think fans feel that, man, because let's be honest, this guy had a couple duds as a champion. Right. I think the fans, were interested in him, but they really weren't beloving Izzy. But I think that when you lose a fight in the manner in which he did, and it's for the third time against the same guy, granted across two sports, but then you want to just turn around and do it again, and you're coming in with this fire in your eyes of like, I got this is for it all. This is for everything that I mean, this guy's been fighting his entire life, and his fighting legacy is really going to come down to this fight. I mean, I don't think I'm speaking in hyperbole here. No, I think fans see that and they appreciate it.
You make a really good point because I feel like whenever a fighter facing a big fight like Izzy is facing says just another fight, that's my mindset. That's a red flag to me. So I think you make a good point that Izzy is putting it all on the table and saying, hey, this really is a big deal, and the pressure is on me to get this win. Otherwise, my entire career trajectory changes.
Just real quick, so from a stylistic standpoint, what is your biggest question coming in after what we saw in the first one?
I mean, it's so hard to say because Adesanya won the majority of that fight. As effective as Pereira was, Adesanya was the guy until almost finished him, by the way, in the first round, until the fifth. I think the question for me is going to be, I think it looks like he put on some weight. It looks like he has more muscle than he did back in November at MSG. Is he going to wrestle more? That's kind of the big question mark for me. Will he wrestle more? Will he be more clinch work? He had a little bit of success with that in the I don't want to say the first fight, but the first fight in the UFC. And I think that we might go back and see that a little bit more.
I think you're just going to see a more aggressive version of Izzy. I think he got in the habit facing a lot of the stylistic matchups that he did as a champion, saying I can let these guys come to me, and then when they go, I counter. And that's not how I think that he's come to the realization that that's not how I'm going to fight Alex Pereira anymore. I need to put him on the back foot. I need to move him back forward. I need to give him a lot to think about because he did kind of play the cat and mouse game a lot against the fence in the first one. 100%. I don't think he wants to do that the second one. So it's going to be super, super interesting to see how both of those guys approach the main event. So let's get to the co-main event.
Yeah.
We knew that Jorge was going to get a pop. We knew it.
Sure did.
I will say this. This was my takeaway, and then I want to see what you think. There's a difference between a superstar pop, like you go to New York and like, oh, it's Jorge Masvidal, it's Jorge Masvidal. And there's a difference that when it's your hometown and it's people that are not only fans of you, but like they look up to you. They're your role model. They see you and they're like, that guy made it. I can make it. I think there's a lot of that going on, and I think that's how Jorge perceives it. And watching him at that press conference, I thought he looked emotional. Now, whether that's a good thing, bad thing, I'm not sure, but I just think that Jorge Masvidal is a little more emotional going into this fight. Am I making something up there?
I mean, how can you not be? I mean, the crowd was chanting 305 just when, like, Dana White was talking at the press conference to borrow from pro wrestling, since, the UFC and WWE are merging as one company now, Brett. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Yes.
But Jorge
Masvidal,
I'm
so excited about.
I know you are. I know you are. Jorge Masvidal is super over in Miami, and that means he's incredibly popular, like to crazy. He really is the king of the city. And I'll give you an anecdote, and I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit, because I heard someone behind me during the face-off say, again, I'm paraphrasing, Jorge, please have a child with my wife, and I'll raise it for you. That's what someone actually said. That right behind the press row, someone said that. So if you wanted an indication of how popular Jorge Masvidal was in Miami, you got it right there.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's going to make the video, but we'll see.
Jorge talking briefly in the countdown show, saying that, hey, if I can't get this one done, then I'm probably done. And then that look that, again, maybe I'm making this up, but go back and watch the press conference yourself. I just felt like he looked, when he's going like this and he's pointing to, I just feel like he feels this crowd, and he feels like he really is representing them. A lot of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like that, or do you not like it in terms of a performance standpoint?
It's so hard to say, because it could go either way, right? I think part of it will energize him, and it seems like he's had a really good training camp. It seems like he's taken a year off from the Colby Covington fight. That was a dramatic fight and an emotional fight on a different level, and I think I'm going to say that I think it's going to bring out the best in Jorge Masvidal. I think that fighting in front of his home fans. He talked a lot this year about this week about being at the UFC fight 20 years ago when it was here, and they have not had a big fight here in 20 years, and now he's the guy representing the city in the UFC fight, and I think he'll rise to the occasion. I feel like he's the kind of guy that when the lights turn up, he puts on a show. He's shown that time and time again that in the biggest spots, he delivers, and this is as big a spot as it gets at this point.
I love walkouts, man. I'm a walkout guy. I cannot wait to watch Jorge Masvidal walk out.
And you're not a WWE fan? Like, the best entrances, in combat sports.
I know, man. And actually, that leads me perfectly into the final question that I have for you of this press conference, Marc. And after I ask it, I might as well just set my microphone down and walk away, because I'm not going to have any type of follow-up whatsoever.
You can go for a dip behind us.
Because it is a WWE-related question. Yes, we do know that they basically merged into one stock, and
it's coming. Yeah.
So Dana was there, and that was his first public appearance since then, and he was like, I don't want to answer those questions. It's about the fighters here. And then even when there were questions asked to the fighters about kind of drama stuff and not fight stuff, he seemed to not want to steer have that. He seemed kind of anti that.
Yeah, I mean,
so what did you make of his? I understand it. Hey, we're here to give these guys their respect and talk about their fights. Yeah. But what did you make of him not really having anything to say after such a big announcement?
Well, I mean, I don't know how Dana White feels about the merger. He certainly didn't really let on either way how he feels about it. Although kind of the non-answer was somewhat of an answer, because you would think that the statement that he put out sounded very excited on social media, and maybe he did just want to kind of shine light on this card. But it's tough to say, because look, I mean, Dana White has tried to distance the UFC and MMA from pro wrestling from day one, since he started since him and the Fertittas bought the company back in 2001. Yeah. That's one of the things that they wanted to do, was kind of keep it away from the perception of it being fixed and a fake fight. As real as it gets is the slogan of the UFC. Yeah. And and again, I don't know how he feels about it, but to merge the UFC and WWE together, where one is a simulated fight and one is as real as it gets, you could see how there might be a little bit of a disconnect there. And look, I mean, I'm excited about it on a personal level, but you could see how someone like Dana White, who has tried to, I know it's very shocking, but you could see how someone like Dana White, who has tried to separate it, may not be as enthusiastic as some others are. End of the day, though, all those guys are probably going to make a ton of money, and I'm sure that it'll all get sorted out either way. But it's fresh, it's new. And we'll see. No one really knows how it's what's gonna happen, how it's gonna affect anything. Anyone saying they know is lying, frankly. So I guess we have to see. To borrow a phrase from Dana White, we'll see how this thing plays out.
We will see how this thing plays out. Yeah. It is very fresh. It is very new. And actually, I think the guy will get into it at some point. Maybe today, when everybody's screaming and you got the fighters on there, it wasn't the right time to get into it. So, thank you for staying
Dana
with.
as like a heel authority figure on Monday Night Raw, coming out and.
Of course.
I'm just kidding. There's no chance that'll ever happen.
Thank you for staying with us on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel. Check back with us all week, and definitely watch this main event. I know we're talking about WWE and we're talking about Jorge Masvidal and we're in Miami, but this main event, this fight between Alex Pereira and Izzy Adesanya last year was my favorite fight of the year. It was my pick for fight of the year. So with all the stakes going into it, let's give the main event its due. I cannot wait for that fight, and we will see you the rest of the week, and then, of course, Saturday night post-fight to talk about everything that happened. Stay tuned.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.